Welcome to the 624 Pod, your home for all things independent films. We're going to discuss all the positives and negatives when it comes to independent filmmaking. We're going to have incredible guests from the film industry talk about behind-the-scenes experience, the good, the bad, the ugly, and how the industry has changed in the past 10, 20
minutes.
30, yeah, minutes, hours, years. That's the point. It's always changing. And of course, we will always focus on independent filmmaking right here in our state of New Jersey. I'm Tom Baldinger.
And I'm Mark Rigodano.
All right, let's do this. All right, so Mark, we season 2. We've had a couple good episodes with some good guests. I don't know about these next 2 guests. What do you think?
Oh, this is going to be exciting.
Really?
They're the biggest ball busters I've ever worked
They
with.
are the biggest fucking ball busters ever. So we've got Mr. Jimmy Palumbo.
What's happening, guys?
And Michael Deeg.
What's up, guys?
Of the original Artie Lange's Beer League, and they're now the stars of our new series, Beer League, the series. We've been filming the full pilot, doing a couple pickups recently, having some fun with it. What's going on, guys?
Not much. It was a good little shoot yesterday. It wasn't as cold as the first time.
Yeah, it was a little cold that day out there.
It's always hard working with Deej because he's got to play softball and he stinks.
I just want to make sure. Can anybody see where Jimmy's shirt and the back wall starts and ends? He blends. It looks like he's on a fucking green screen.
Is anybody
doing? All I see is your head.
All I see is you with a fucking mirror. You got a mirror in the background. You got clearly this is not on CNN.
How about contrast? How about putting on a blue shirt, asshole?
I had my Giant shirt on earlier. Now I'm just wearing this. You know what? Maybe I don't give a fuck about this podcast.
How about that?
All of a sudden, 624 is doing Beer League. I'm like the third string quarterback here. You know? Yeah, Dave's doing 624. Yeah, sure they crowded around you. All right.
So how you guys doing? How things going? All right. Oh, that was a quick.
Yeah, it's going to. Yeah, look, I literally was just.
I was trying to let the silence do it for me. Things are all right.
It's all the hard hitting questions.
Yeah. So
I'm doing. The Beer League's going great. I got Dave into show business. I got Deej into show business. I got Mark into show business. So I'm just doing charity work for everyone. But no, the shoot went well. Me and Deej have known each other for a very long time. Actually, way too long now.
Talk about your guys' history when you guys first met and everything. Tell our audience a little bit about who you guys are and how you guys came to be the biggest ball busters that you are now.
Well, one of my best friends was a guy named Mike Wayne who did Game Day, and it led to Beer League. And Deej was good friends with Artie Lange. And then Deej and my buddy Mike used to work at a restaurant, and they would always say, my buddy Artie, and Mike would say, my buddy Jimmy. So we finally all got together one day to shoot this commercial for Alipurdy's, and I didn't get cast as usual.
Were you both acting already?
No. When I met Artie, Deej was. I wasn't. I had just started with I wasn't really acting. I was just fucking around doing productions with my buddy Mike. But I was working for Microsoft. How'd that work out? And I ended up, but then
stock options from it.
Please, I had $3,000 worth of Microsoft shares in 1990. So those of you scoring at home, but I sold them to pay off my Honda Civic. I'm brilliant. I'm brilliant, just like I am now. I don't believe in making money. I believe in spending it.
Jimmy, what you're forgetting is this. I was working at Mike's restaurant, family's restaurant, and he and I got to be friends. And Mike was the director, and I was doing some theater and some, bullshit stuff, just, working my way up. And he used to tell me about his friend Jimmy, who was the funniest guy in the world. And I used to tell him about my buddy Artie, who was the funniest guy in the world. So then we said, well, let's get together. Sounds like we all have a lot in common. And I really think from the moment the four of us got together, it was like best friends. Like we all just were cut from the same cloth.
Everybody was young. They were single. We all kind of had a little showbiz giddy up. And, and then D, out of nowhere, I said to Artie, you want to start doing the showbiz thing? And we were going into the city, but then Deej ended up going to Florida to pursue showbiz.
Yeah.
And you did quite well down there. You probably worked on as much shit as Artie and I did. So Artie and I would just go into the city every day. But then years later, when Deej came back, Artie was on Mad TV. We flew out there for the taping. Remember that? The pilot, Mad TV out there.
A lot of fun.
And me and Deej were sitting there going like, because Artie was just like a fat fuck jerk off like us, And he finally hit one out like he was. And I remember Deej. You remember this? We were sitting in the audience of a pilot being shot at what studios we were at? It was Sony or one of the bigger ones. And we were like, I can't believe what we were like. I can't believe. And Artie was into it, but like it wasn't like. It was weird. It was like he wasn't like. I guess maybe he just was under stress of doing a very difficult sketch show, Mad TV.
Yeah.
But me and Deej were like, "What the? This is nuts!"
And listen, it was unbelievable. But as everybody knows, it always came natural to Artie. Like he was just always. He was just listen. Jimmy's awesome. I'm a ham and egger. I've been out of the league. I'm trying to get the swing back, but Artie was always the best person in the room from the first day. If he shows up again, if he shows up on set, he's the best guy. He's the best guy.
I used to tell people that would say, "Yeah, Artie Lange, your buddy, he's on drugs. He just did that Howard Stern show." I said, "No, no." I said, "If you go to an audition," I used to say this in front of these real like pussy ass like trained actors. I was like, "Listen, if you go to an audition and you sign in, and one of the names is Artie Lange on there,
go home.
Either go home or you better throw as hard as you can because he's throwing 99 miles an hour and he's probably better than you." So
and he does it effortlessly.
he was great. Artie's fun. I tell people all the time, he was funny on Stern.
You guys were doing sketch stuff before. Were you guys doing live sketch? Like,
yeah. Well, Deej ended up going to Florida, so Artie and I ended up in this sketch group, the Improvables, and we started doing. We were both getting laughs on stage, but for me, I always got my share of laughs. Like I played well, but so did Scottie Pippen. Like in other words, all you have to do is bring the ball up, dish it down, and you won the game. I was on stage with Artie many times where. I held my own, but I was always aware of, I might have scored 12 points a game, but Artie was scoring, 28 points a game, that kind of thing. But we both just had a little magic there going on, and then our sketch group got really good. And then Artie left for Mad TV, and of course, my show got picked up by NBC, which was a big deal at the time. It was actually a bigger pilot than Mad TV, really. But,
nice.
My pilot didn't air and Artie's did. There you go. Then Deej moved back and I had some NBC money coming in and Deej was, we were looking to do auditions and I was like, Deej, let's look for a place. And we got really lucky. You remember how lucky we got on that, Deej?
Oh, yeah.
We looked for like 3 days and we found this 4th-story walk-up on 87th in Amsterdam that had just been renovated. And 2 girls were living in it for like 4 months and decided to go marry their boyfriends or whatever. So me and Deej walked into the Upper West Side. This is like during the Giuliani safe subways. You can ride around 1996, 97, right around there. And we ended up just being roommates. And then when you're roommates, I mean, you're 2 single guys living in the city. Deej was bartending. And we just had a lot of laughs, man. I mean, it was just, 2 assholes living in the city, girls coming around, not coming around, laughing over that, striking out, laughing over that. And then the Delta girls came around, which was always fun.
Deej, what were you doing in Florida before you came back?
So I was like really into acting. I did a lot of theater when I was younger. I did when I was in school and I got involved in this theater group and I was studying at HB Studio with Sandy Dennis. And I was just doing a lot of like, off-Broadway theater, small productions. I was doing theater in New Jersey and like Jimmy and Artie, like, I'd like to think that I could be funny at times, but I can't cover Jimmy and Artie. But I'm more of I don't want to say more of an actor than Jimmy and Artie was because they're just, I did more
straight man. Yeah, like you said.
That Deej was doing shit that Artie and I weren't really doing. I mean, what was that play you did? I never saw it, but
I did a couple of shows. I did a show called
No, I didn't know him. That's why I didn't go see it.
What was that play you did? I never saw it.
No, it was the one that Farrah Fawcett burned.
Extremities. I did Extremities, which
he played the guy with, snots coming out of his nose, getting his ass kicked and shit.
Yeah, remember I had that breakdown on stage? Oh my God.
Yeah, Michael Wayne saw one night. Our buddy Mike said it was like powerful and incredible. And that's the kind of shit I couldn't.
So I went. So to answer your friggin' question, sorry for that. So I wanted to go to California, but to be really honest, you hear horror stories, and I was like, I might not be good enough for California. And Ruane moved to Florida. It was a big commercial market. Universal Studios was down there. They were shooting Sequest and a bunch of other TV shows down there. So I said, you know what? I kind of felt like Florida. I could get some experience. I'm a bigger fish, smaller pond, get some work.
Well, in all fairness, me, Deej, and Artie drove down to Florida to go check it out. And just like anything else in life, same thing with LA. Me and Artie, we got down to Florida. We were like, oh, internally, I was like, I want nothing to do with this. But Deej was like, you know what? It's nice down here. I want to go live down here. And, New Jersey sucks sometimes. So and when you got down there, man, I remember you worked a lot.
I started working from the first day, like voiceovers, commercials. I lived in Lake Mary, which was right outside of Orlando. So that I was like the center point for Tampa, Miami, and Orlando for Universal Studios. And I was working the commercial market. I was doing TV shows on Sequest several times. And then there was the other show that came off of Sequest, and a lot of industrials, a lot of corporate work, just getting my feet wet. And then when I went out to California to see Artie, we met Principato, and that's when Artie was really well. And I was telling Principato, he was like, so what are you doing down in Florida? And I told him some of the stuff I was doing. I showed him some of my stuff. And this is when he was with William Morris. And he was like, well, why don't you come? Maybe it's time you come to William Morris and try to make something happen. And I had a really good life in Florida. I had a girlfriend, beautiful apartment, car, scuba diving, acting, voiceovers, money, just everything. It was going awesome. And I was like, well, if I'm going to be an actor, I guess I have to put my big pants on, my big boy pants on. And I went up to New York, and William Morris, Principato brought me on. And I remember I was sitting in the lobby, and oh my God, wasn't it Matthew, not McConaughey, Matthew from Vision Quest and the plane movie. Come on.
What the hell's his name?
Matthew. He was the main Matthew.
Matthew Modine.
Matthew Modine. There you go. Perfect.
Is this horrible? That I had in my head for Matthew Modine. It's Jiminy Glick's kid's name.
Yeah. So I remember sitting in the lobby at William Morris, and I'm talking to Matthew Modine like it was he and I, just like bullshit. I'm like, this is awesome. Matthew Modine. And he was talking to me like I was his equal. I was like, yeah, how's it been going? And yeah, I'm doing this and this. I was like, oh yeah, I'm trying to figure this out. So that was a pretty cool moment. And so then there you go. So then commercials, a couple of TV shows, a couple of Law and Orders, you're doing some theater.
Let me tell you the kind of player Deej was when he got back to New York. I played every day. I got 600 bats a year, okay? And I did okay. Deej got about 160 at-bats and hit as many home runs as I did. Deej went in, and when Deej booked you booked the Miller Lite spot. I was up for that. Deej, I was doing 30 voiceover auditions a week. Deej gets one audition in a month on a voiceover and hits the ball 560 feet, and he makes like $35,000 off of Miller Lite.
No, that's not true. No, listen, I'm not bragging. I was well over six figures on Miller Lite. I was the voice. Bastard. I was the voice of Miller Lite. I put the down payment on our house because of Miller Lite.
Shut the hell up!
And all I did was drink Miller Lite.
Yeah, no, I did all the boxing promotions, all the football promotions. I was the voice of Miller Lite when the Houston Texans came into the NFL, because I did a bunch of voiceovers when they played their first game against each other, the Cowboys and the Texans. And I did voiceover after voiceover for them. I did the boxing. I did all those. Do you remember the commercial where the those two hot girls are fighting in the fountain? I can't explain it, but they're like two hot girls. They start ripping their clothes off in the fountain, and they're soaking wet. And that was one of the voiceovers I did. I did a whole campaign.
That was big time. That was nice.
Listen, it's a tough business. I did better than some people, but not everybody, but we just
You always book stuff. Always booked work.
All right, so now you guys do game day, you did beer league, and now here we are 17 years later. 16, 17 years later.
A lot of stuff happened between game day. You just said, like, then Columbus came, and then Kennedy got shot, and then Jesus Christ, there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears between game day to beer league to fucking Hillsborough, New Jersey.
If you want to get into the between game day and
no. It's you know what? It's depressing.
Yeah. Well, that's I'm trying to get to is, here we are. We shot the pilot. Talk about the experience and not with me. Take me out of the equation for you, Deej, and for you, Jimmy. The experience doing Artie Lange's beer league, doing from game day to beer league to where we are now. I mean,
for me, the beer league series we're doing now is kind of very similar to game day. I don't know if you know what I mean, Dee. It's like a little bit of a lower budget, and it has that kind of feel to it. What we did with game day, and game day was very successful. This is before the internet and all these different things and MP4s, everything that was shot on film, had to be transferred. We had to make. It cost a lot of money to do. Back then, when you did a short film, you had no monitors. You had to look through the little thing. It's just a different world. But me, Deej, and Artie always hit it off. And I think it shows in game day, just like it does me and Deej. And now we're older. And the main fun about Beer League, the series, really is I get to see Deej and hang out. All we do is, there were some takes where we could almost not do the take because we were laughing over something I remembered from 20 years ago. And then now we have to actually act. And but it leads in the way the characters would be. In other words, I'm playing Johnny Trino, he's playing Alphonse. But really, if it was Jimmy Palumbo and Deej, in other words, if me and Deej played softball next week, I would be doing the same material as in the script. Like, Deej, you suck. Jimmy, you're a fat fuck. Like, all that stuff. So we just added, that's how softball is. That's what it is. So, me and Deej, we had an absolute blast shooting this stuff.
Listen, first, so when we shot game day, we're all young, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed energy. We're all going to become movie stars. We're all going to win 100 Academy Awards. And we were really proud of game day. We had a fundraiser. Friends and family came together. Ruane directed and edited and won festivals, and it got a lot of buzz. And we were really proud of it. And then then Artie started becoming Artie. And when Beer League came out, it was a different feel on the set. It was still exciting, and but there was pressure. There was jockeying for power.
Where was the pressure coming from? Where was that coming from?
Well, a couple of things.
Because what I want the audience who's listening to this to hear, people. 624 Pod is about independent filmmaking and the successes, the failures of it. Well, so when you talk about pressure on Artie Lange, the Artie Lange Beer League, talk about that with game day.
It's all about the growth of it, where it came from. I know. I've always said. If someone said to me, how did Beer League start, game day and stuff? I don't want to say I was the first guy. Artie decided to, hey, I'm making some Mad TV money. How much would it cost to shoot a short, blah, blah, blah. And we sat around in his LA apartment to come up with ideas for a short. What could we shoot over the summer when he came back from LA? And we were shouting out ideas. And finally I said it, I'll never forget it. I said, what about what happens 15 minutes before a softball game? The ball breaking, putting your spikes on. And Mike, who played on my softball team, Artie played softball his whole life. It was like one of those aha moments. It was like, bang. We knew right away, that's what we have to shoot. And then we shot that, and it went really well. And by the time Beer League came around, Artie started to grow. But fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, Artie got in bed with Frank Sebastiano, who's a great guy, great writer, Letterman, he writes for him and Chris Rock and all this shit. Good guy, I love Frank. He wrote the script with Mike and Artie, but there was a little conflict there. And then all of a sudden, Frank decided he loved his script so much, he wanted to direct it. And that's what, in independent film world, Mike Ruane got cut out of the process, which was very sad. And then by the time we were shooting it, I had a falling out with Artie because he was being a jerk off in Vegas. I could say that publicly. And then Artie had a big drug issue, and he was we were like not shooting it. And there was also issues. Deej had some issues. There was a contract issue, which I probably should have opened my mouth, but I didn't because we were all trying to protect our little world. I always feel guilty about that, but I don't know if it would have changed anything.
But listen, Tom. So this is, well, you talk about filmmaking. Yeah. It was 4 of us. We came up with an idea. We shot it. It did really well. Yeah. Artie ended up having some money, got very, very popular. Then
we didn't use any of his money though. That's the thing. Remember,
right? But his power comes in. So now a budget comes in. They no longer wanted me to be me. Macchio takes my part. So that was a conversation where Artie says, Deej, the producers, like a talented guy, but Ralph Macchio is Ralph Macchio. So I'm like, you know what? God bless, man. I'll take a smaller part for the good of the production. I'm not going to break anybody's balls. Then I had to sign a paper giving up my ownership of
the character
Game Day, not of the character,
Game Day,
ownership of Game Day, of my producing title and my partial ownership of Game Day, which was, involved in Beer League. And then that was and literally 2 weeks before we started shooting, I had twins. My twins were born 2 weeks before we started shooting. And there was just a little bit of I don't want to say a negative feeling on the set, but it was like, we're excited, but Artie was going through some trouble. Frank kind of kicked out Mike because he was very pumped up about the project. The production people were, and it was the first time for all of us doing it in that stage. Yeah. And there was a lot of,
it wasn't like the title. People think, oh, you guys were partying and drinking afterwards. And it wasn't that way at all.
No.
But we didn't improv that much, which I think hurt the film. Looking back, listen, I'm not saying I'm Johnny Improv here, but you guys have worked with me now. So, now sometimes I misfire, and we laughed about that too. But I think I'm pretty good at adding, as a Jersey guy playing softball. We weren't really allowed to do that. Matter of fact, Deej, I don't think me and you improv'd ever.
He didn't.
And you were playing third base. I was playing short.
Because Frank was he was a writer, and a writer doesn't want to be edited.
Right.
He doesn't want to be edited at all. And there were some time constraints where, we would shoot it, we'd get it, check the gate, moving on kind of thing. Right. So the lightness that we have on Beer League, the series, and the fun that we're having was a completely different feel.
I'm
not talking bad about it. And I'm just telling you that it was a different feel. It was more of a serious, heavy kind of thing because we were worried about Artie. I remember one day Artie didn't come out of his trailer.
Did you guys lose opportunities for that passionate comedy? Do you think?
I didn't speak to Artie for a year and a half before the first day I spoke to Artie in a year and a half was at the Table Read in New York City. And the director kept on saying, Jimmy, you're Johnny Trino. I'm like, okay. But no, Artie could have said, I don't want to. We had I don't want to get into it. I knew I wasn't wrong. What happened with Artie, I knew I wasn't. When somebody's sober and somebody's not, the sober guy knows what happened. But I always still loved Artie. I still do to this day. I think I'm the only one that calls him once a week. But it was a weird set. And then one of the things, I talk about independent filmmaking in terms of promotion. You got to remember before Instagram and Twitter and shitter and all that stuff. The
Twitter and shitter.
Well, listen, this is, how I feel about promotion of stuff. When we shot Beer League, Artie was on K-Rock.
Right.
When the movie came out, they were on Sirius XM. Do you know what the difference is? Oh. That's like saying when we were shooting the movie, we were in a Maserati. When the movie came out, we were on roller skates. Because back then, no one had Sirius XM.
No, that was a big gamble that Stern was taking.
Yeah,
right.
And so it worked out for everybody, including Artie.
But at the time, right, it was a big, yeah.
So, and then the movie came out, and we've discussed this in terms of your independent filmmaking. At least I have, publicly. We got in bed with, and I'll never forget this. This is, and again, Tom, I've talked to you about this in terms of what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Deej will remember this. When the movie was shot, like people were really excited about it. And there was a lot of jokes in there. So Principato, who was Artie's manager and kind of still is my manager, but I think they're letting me rot on the vine. That's another story for another podcast. And so we were having a big screening at CAA, and the CAA just built this new screening room. Dude, this was big time, man. I remember being in Peter's office. He's like, Jimmy, we're going to have a screening. Harvey Weinstein, all the TriStar, Disney, you name the top 20 distributors in the world. Movies.
UA, United Artists, was there.
Everybody. They were all saying their reps to see. There was going to be maybe a bidding war. This was going to be, and I'm thinking, well, fuck this. There was still a point where the movie was already shot, so now it's just a matter of who's going to distribute.
Right.
And I remember thinking, wow, look at all these all these people that are going to see me playing a character that I did fairly well. Like I could do this character in my sleep. This is going to be, I was going to bring a chick to the screening. Like, I'm going to be like, you know what? You get your one shot to be like, look at me. I'm a badass. And about 2 days before, I'm in Peter's office again, and he gets like a phone call, and he's like distressed. And I go, Peter, what's going on? He goes, the screening got canceled. I was like, what are you talking about? Mm. And he goes, one of the producers that wrote a check had a little line item in the contract. And that's why, Tom, when me and you talk about contracts, sometimes I'm always a little leery, like, who owns what? Where does it go? Only because there was a line item that said, this company has first right to be the distributor. Mm. So once they saw the movie, they were like, oh, shit, they liked it too. But they were thinking, hey, let's get this whore on DVD and make money on DVDs, because they had a bunch of catalog movies that were on DVD, so they could package it with they were seeing the $20 DVDs at Best Buy, and the screening
DVDs meant something.
Right.
That's when DVDs
was a big
were like,
profit center.
DVDs.
Big profit center. They would have made their money back. They did make their money back, and more. But no one ever saw it because it was like it just disappeared into the abyss. And I was on some phone calls with. There was something called print and advertising, P&A. You had to make a print of the film, not like today. It's all digital MP3, 4, that shit is. Now you had to actually make the film, like on a reel, and you had to give it to the guy at the theater. Right. So if you're in 50 theaters, you got to make 50 of these fucking films on a reel. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you got to have advertising. So you're going to open up in New York and Cleveland. So you got the Daily News, the New York Post. You know how much those ads cost? A lot of money. We had like $1 million budget, even though IMDb says $3 million. It's bullshit.
No way.
$1 million budget, right at $1 million. And Frank, I never forget, the meeting was like, what's your P&A budget? And the guy was like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about the P&A budget. And Frank was like, no, I need to know. And from that day on, literally, I saw it in Frank's face. I was still a rookie when it came to this. Frank was like we're done here. We're done. And I kept on saying, like, who let this company in to have that line item? So I think Peter and some other people goofed on that. But I can't blame them. They got money to make a movie. Tom, if a shitty guy offered you money to make a movie, you would take it, not knowing where the money came. It's not everybody's job to filter out stuff. And so the movie was only in theaters 10 days. And it was in Boston, New York, Philly, and Cleveland. And all across New Jersey as well. The movie was in 10 days. They yanked it. The first weekend, the per theater thing was actually not that bad. But we advertised on Yankee games. I always thought the ad should have been more grassroots marketing at softball teams and all that different stuff. And then the movie came out, so everybody thinks the movie bombed. It really didn't bomb. And it did unbelievable on DVD because there was a time where Beer League wasn't even on the air. And if you talk to any 40-year-old guy right now, they all know the movie Beer Leagues. They bought it on DVD.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So I got to tell you this really quick. Jimmy just said a 40-year-old guy. So I live in Central Jersey now, married, 3 kids, the whole bit. So listen to the story, Tom and Mark. So I just get home from work and Michael comes in. He's like, Dad, I got to tell you what just happened. I said, what happened? he said, I was with Jonathan, Avery, Kona, whoever else he was with, his boys, right? They're driving in the car. And this is when we started talking about doing beer league again. And it was just coming up. This is like a year ago where something happened with beer league. And Artie, my son Michael, said to one of his friends, yeah, I don't think my father's gonna be able to pick us up. He's doing something with beer league. And my son Michael said, the father in the front seat turned around and said, what did you just say? and he said my dad is in beer league. He said that the father pulls a Yui, pulls a car over, turns over, and he's like, your father's in the movie Beer League? And my son Michael's like, yeah, he plays like that Italian guy, Alphonse. And the father's like, I gotta meet your father. And Michael is like, this is like, so freaked out. Just randomly, this father in Cranberry, New Jersey finds out that Michael's father is Alphonse, pulls the car over, and is completely blown away.
Deej, I love that story because when I started bartending up here again, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to tell anybody I'm an actor. I don't want that. Oh, you're the bartender. You're an actor. I was in one of those shitty moods. I just say, I'm just going to put my head down. I'm Jimmy the bartender, and that's it, right?
Just make drinks.
Right. First day, we're there. Kid comes in. He's around 30 years old. He orders a Bud, and he's staring at me like, with his hands moving, and he was kind of jittery. I'm thinking, was this guy coked up? What's wrong with this guy? He's looking at me, and you want anything else? You want a menu? We're brand new. The bar was brand new. And so it goes on and on and on. He was like, he ordered like 3 beers, but he's staring at me like I owed him money, right? Then other people start coming in. Oh, your name is Jimmy. Where you from? I'm like, I'm Ramsey. I got married. I got kids. And somehow the guy was like, what'd you do before this? And I just said, I did some acting. And as soon as I started, because I goofed, I didn't, because the guy asked me directly. As soon as I said acting, the guy staring at me for 2.5 hours just goes, were you in the movie Beer League? I said, yeah, I was. He banged the table, freaked everybody out. Says, I knew it. Mother effer. I can't believe. He's on the phone with his friends, FaceTime. We're getting people. Yeah. Now, the other customers are like, they were all like in their 60s. They were like, what the hell is Beer League? And who's this fat fuck by the bar? But this guy, you would have thought he met like George Clooney. So the weird thing is around here, man.
That was just to say that. And Jimmy, it hasn't just happened once.
Oh,
since like I'll maybe not as much in the last, it'll start coming up now, but it is Jimmy and I during COVID, we did a Beer League fan Q&A with those people. Remember we did that, Jimmy? With those people
what the hell was that?
A buddy of mine who
that's right.
A friend of mine who has a bunch of friends who loves Beer League.
You know what, Deej? I completely Tom, did I ever tell you this? We did a Zoom.
We did a Zoom Q&A with like 40 or 50 people who just loved us, and they were just ricocheting question after question. But it's when I used to bartend in Hoboken or just walking around in the city, it happened. Listen, I'm not getting recognized like I'm Tom fucking Cruise, but people would come up to me and be like, you're fucking Alphonse. Alphonse. Yeah, the Italiano mid jerk off.
So funny. But
it happened a lot.
When I hung out with Ralph Macchio a couple times and I talked to him a lot over the years. He's a good guy. And one time he said to me, I made a joke like, that shitty movie you did really. He looks at me and goes, hey, Jimmy, I know I'm the Karate Kid, but he goes, I can't tell you how many times people ask me about Artie and Beer League. He goes, and he wasn't, making that up. So, I mean, it really is a cult. I don't want to say a cult classic because a cult classic means nationwide, worldwide. I'm not saying we're like, one of those. It's not Animal House.
It's embedded. It's embedded, right?
The people who like the movie just
New Jersey culture. Though.
It's a part of the New Jersey culture. It's embedded with softball guys who are 40 to like early 50s, like that generation right there. My brother's 55 years old. I played softball with all of them growing up, and we all watched Beer League. And when I've told my cousins, I've told my family, and they're all like, oh, how's Beer League going? I can't get them to talk about Unsuited, but I get them talking about Beer League all the time. They're like, oh, how's that Beer League going? That's great.
Well, let me tell you, Tom, when I met a guy, and we're partners with this guy, Greg. which I owe Greg a phone call, as a matter of fact. And I did a comedy thing with Greg at Stand Up New York. And I had been looking. I was like, I want to shoot this beer league thing. I think there's something there. We'll shoot it with an iPhone. And so I met another guy who was a production company. And he's like, oh, my God, I know Artie. I'd love to do it. And so we were like, we'll talk next week and blah, blah, blah. And by the time we talked, the guy didn't call me back. And then I get a phone call from Tom, who I met on another jerk-off project 3 years ago. And he wanted to cast me in this Checked Out series he was doing. I said, sure, I'll come down there. And literally while I think we were on the phone talking about life in general, what we're doing, I said, yeah, I'm maybe shooting this beer league thing. And once I said beer league, you were like, what? Who's shooting it? Where? He was
I was in my driveway. He's like, I'm thinking about it. And I went, whoa. I was like, how far along are you in the conversation with it?
No, he was like, do you have a contract? Is it signed? Is it dated? He was being like such a piece of garbage. I'm like, well, no, I didn't even know the guy. And then I checked out. I figured, I don't know this guy, Tom. I don't know the other guy. I go to Checked Out. And that's when I see your 624 Productions. And I see you got a nice little crew, some good camera guys. The audio guy we'll talk about at another show.
That's another episode.
Okay, another episode called The Audio Guy. And all of a sudden, I'm like, Tom's got a nice little makeup girl bouncing around. He's got the little tent, little coffee, but he didn't have half and half. But I said, I'll change that once we work together. And I'm like, so finally, I'm like, you know what? The other guy never called me back. So I was like, Tom, you want to do this? And then it was boom. But to getting back to independent film stuff, one of the cool things was on this production, Beer League, the series, as we have to legally call it, I think everybody really wanted to be there. Like, I know, Deej, you have a whole life, a career, you own a gym, and I'm running around. But, like, everybody, like, you really wanted to be there. Like, you took time off from work because you wanted to be there. Tom wanted to be there. His crew wanted to be there. The other actors, who I can't really talk about because it has to do with the plot, they really, like, everybody really wanted to be there.
Yeah.
I think when you do an independent film, I think that's so key. Like, I know you can cast someone with a bigger name, but man, be careful if the guy doesn't really want to be there, man. Yeah. You're better off going with the jerk off who wants to be there, I think.
We were eating. We shot yesterday. We were getting something to eat, and we were with Larry, and we were sitting there. And I can't remember
Rich. He's editing it.
Good audio guy, the real good audio guy. But I remember we were talking, and we had a couple of beers, and we were saying, like, life sucks, man. If you love to make films and independent films, and you want to be there, and you're passionate about it, then that's great. And when everybody is in, that's when the project works. Because if there's just somebody there to show up to make some scratch,
can't even down to the extras. I mean, if we ever do another, I know I tried to do a little speech on the set because I guess I was higher up the food chain than I've ever been on a project. But I was trying to say, like, hey guys, we need you, like, social media. We need your full promotion. Yeah. I can't have someone that, like, I'm just gonna act for my $300 for the day, SAG, ultra low jerk off budget, and then you just disappear because it won't work. Everybody's got to be all in. We have to we talked about having a screening. We talked about having all these little things. We got to get the cast has to be excited. They got to promote even.
And it's going to happen, man. I feel good about the project. I'm excited about it. I think everybody that's involved in, like you said, we know that everybody's excited about it. I mean, we're here talking about it. We're going to talk about it more. And everything's in the can. We're in post-production on this. So it's going to be amazing. And
Jimmy, by the way, the Mark Riccadona, who's sitting in front of that stupid guitar, he's got it's a decent part, but I personally think it's a very funny bit. I swear to God, I told you yesterday, I said, you know what? I think that might be the funniest bit in the whole. If nobody laughs at that, I'm going to be like, I don't care. People may not laugh at the stuff we do, and I don't, whatever. But if they don't laugh at that part, I'm like, wow, did I misfire on that? Like, I think that's hysterical.
I'm with you, man.
I think
it's funny.
I think it's a great joke.
It's a great joke, and it's a running gag, and it works. And it's not over the top. It's just like
just enough.
No, it's enough, and I can't wait for you to see the next two episodes that we wrote. I can't wait for you to read them because
I just think it's funny. I think it's funny. Listen, Beer League was funny. Game Day was great too. And I hope Beer League, the series, I just hope people.
I
I
think
know Artie's not in it, which sucks, but
Look, but
I
Jimmy,
invited Artie to the set yesterday. And he knows about it, and he's happy that we're doing it, but he's just not ready to.
He's in a different place. And look, I think Beer League, the series, we talked about this. We do have to wrap up because we got another guest waiting. But I think Beer League, the series, Jimmy and I, you and I have talked about this. Deej, I think we talked about this yesterday, Mark. Like Beer League, the series, I think it's got a little heart. It's got a little heart, right? There's a little underlining heart. Not that Artie Lange's Beer League didn't. I think Jimmy, you and I talked about this, right? When
we're older,
Yeah.
a little more wiser, a little bit more mature, but yet still making the FU jokes and the busting the balls. But there's more to it. There's more characters. There's more about what's happening behind the scenes.
I like what we do with Maganelli. I think there's some moments there that are good.
Oh, I can't wait for them to see it. I really can't. I can't really wait to see it. All right, guys, real quick, we gotta wrap up, but I want real fast if you can do this. I didn't prep you guys on this question. We'll go to Deej first. Give us your 3 favorite films right now today. Your 3 favorite films.
Braveheart, Shawshank, Rocky.
Wow. Nice.
Wow.
Jimmy.
What a good one.
I love them. Great. Good 3.
I would say On the Waterfront, Shawshank.
Nice. Nice.
And what movie do I really, really just love? You know what? Hoosiers.
Excellent.
Wow.
Excellent.
My man had a very classic.
All great.
Picks.
But Jimmy, is the waterfront? That's in honor of your dad, bro. And I mean that with as much respect.
Deej. I listen. Yes, my dad had that movie on all the time whenever it was on Channel 9 or Channel 11.
Yeah.
But I actually own it on DVD, and like I don't want to bash Marlon Brando. Like forget like what he did in The Godfather is like Johnny Trino work in Beer League is nothing. What he did it on the waterfront, you got to watch. Fucking Brando's bringing it, man. And there's all and. What's his name? Rod Steiger's great in it, and I'm dropping the other guy who played the other lead.
Everybody works today.
On the Waterfront's got great stuff. Everybody should watch On the Waterfront again. And by the way, the girl in it, smoking hot. She was like 22. And Marlon Brando's just playing a tough. It's awesome.
I love it, guys. Guys, thank you so much. And you were asking me, Deej, what's this here?
I wanted to know, is it for decoration or who's playing it?
No one's playing it. So the colors of 624 are red, black, and white. So that is in the inspiration from Eddie Van Halen's original Frankenstein guitar. So that is the guitar, the Eddie Van Halen replica. My son, my wife, my daughter, and my dad, my mom, and my brother gave this to me for my birthday this year because they know I'm a huge Van Halen fan. They know I'm a diehard Eddie Van Halen fan. So it's a replica. It's got the
that's badass.
Got the the guitar drilled in here and everything, and it and it actually plays.
And
but
for Christmas, we're getting them lessons.
And we're getting me lessons, but I still can do. I can do the tapping. That's all I can do. That's all I can do. That's it.
Mark Riccadonna just hit a quick 3 before the end of the half. Listen,
Tom,
I think your audience is going to make the connection between the guitar and 624. That reads clear as a bell right there. So,
hey Tom, seriously, I just want to say meeting you, 624, the crew, the guys, you guys have been as good as anybody I've ever worked with. Like hands down. I'm not just saying that.
Man. Right back at you, dude.
Really,
I'm excited to keep working with you guys.
I can't wait to see the blurry footage.
All right. Look, 624 Prod is brought to you by Central Jersey Nursery. They're Hillsborough. Central Jersey Nursery. Go get your Christmas tree there in Hillsborough.
Right. We'll see you later.
Welcome to the 624 Pod, your home for all things independent films. We're going to discuss all the positives and negatives when it comes to independent filmmaking. We're going to have incredible guests from the film industry talk about behind-the-scenes experience, the good, the bad, the ugly, and how the industry has changed in the past 10, 20
minutes.
30, minutes, hours, years. That's the point. It's always changing. And of course, we will always focus on independent filmmaking right here in our state of New Jersey. I'm Tom Baldinger.
And I'm Mark Riccadonna.
All right, let's do this.